Yo, yo, what up, boys? What's going on, YouTube? All right, we're back. All right, as you can tell, my Asian co-host, my other Asian co-host is not with us today because he's still feeling under the weather and it's like super early for him. So he's probably not gonna be showing up. I did send him a link just in case if he doesn't want to, but he says he's not feeling well. So it's just gonna be me today. So like the calm and collected Grae is not gonna be here. All you're gonna get is a bunch of gay stuff now. I'll be saying throughout the whole thing. Yes, but yes, we are doing a special Project Eggroll. We're gonna do it a little earlier today because we have an awesome guest that's gonna be on. And yes, I know that a lot of people who are in the East Coast are actually cool, and I know Drunk Repo is actually live right now too, so which is actually pretty awesome if you guys want to watch him. Shout out to Jay and stuff like that. But yes, we're gonna talk about a bunch of stuff and a lot of Sweet Baby news. So we're going to talk a little bit about that with our guest and a whole bunch of other stuff. But before we move forward with anything, let's go ahead and read the chat. Thank you so much for Lost Tales. One of our mods already hanging out. Anonymous says early egg roll. Yes, just a little bit. Yes, egg roll. They may be Asian too, probably. Yeah, just a little bit Asian. And we got Jet Spitzer hanging out. Brimstone. What? Wait, you're Asian? If my eyes wasn't a dead giveaway, you might be Asian too because your eyes are probably as small as mine. Sorry. I'll stop. Let's see. That explains why you bowed when you met X-Ray Girl. Yes. It was a natural thing. I don't know why. It just came naturally. Yo, what's going on? Emily Kruger. Hope you're doing well. Yo, hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for hanging out. And Brian, shout out Phillip. Hope you're doing good. Yeah, we're doing good. Let's see. And we have Silent King hanging out in the Rumble chat. Yes, we're also live on Rumble. But yes, before we move forward, would you kindly smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share this video with your friends. Hopefully you can stop Asian hate that way. But yes, we're also live on Rumble. But before we move forward and talk about a whole bunch of stuff, go ahead and check out some of our merch at Teespring. Check out our Project Eggroll merch. As you can tell, I made this design several weeks ago, and I'm currently wearing it, which is our Dare t-shirt, which is it has the byline is saying they're Asian and they have a podcast. Yes, that's from Jay. And if you guys want to check out our Project Eggroll hub shirts, and of course, only some people can wear this in the public. Chinks for Trump 2024, and you get our Project Eggroll and Let's Go Brandon designs that I did several. I think it's like last year that I did it. But yes, if you guys want to check that out, please do use promo code Asian at checkout to get yourself 20% off. And if you guys do want some coffee, go ahead and check out Brand Coffee in our description below. You guys use that affiliated link, and we do get a kickback. Get some coffee from Jeremy Hambley with Brand Coffee. But yes, joining us, and we're going to talk about Sweet Baby, maybe some news from Dune and Superman Legacy, and talking about all of that and a whole lot more. Joining us today is Comix Division.
Hello.
Yo. How's it going, man?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you. And I know that you've been busy and you've been doing a lot of writing and like tabletop stuff. And thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule for coming on this Tiny Asian podcast live stream. Thank you.
All right, welcome. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So for people who don't know who you are, I'm pretty sure everyone in the chat knows who you are. But for people who don't know who you are, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, I'm just another idiot on the internet. It's the best way to describe myself. It's like I have the Comix Division YouTube channel. Don't ask me why I picked the name. It was kind of dumb. And yeah, it stuck. I should have changed it. But yeah, it is what it is, considering I don't talk about comic books anymore. But yeah, you can follow me at Comix Division on Twitter. And, obviously, if you Google or, look on YouTube for Comix Division, you'll find me.
All right, awesome. And so I typically ask this for our guests, especially the new ones for the first time. Thank you so much again. How did you get started with like YouTube? Like what made you decide, you know what, I'm going to make a YouTube channel and talk about comic nerdy stuff? Like what sort of sparked your flame to get that started?
Okay, so obviously with the name Comix Division, I initially started my channel to talk about comics because a lot of the woke crap, before we started calling out woke, before that term was popular, it was SJW, right? So the issue that we were seeing in comics were, this kind of creep into entertainment. And I got to the point where it's like, I can't just sit here and say nothing about what is going on in comics, because it was getting pretty ridiculous. And there's like several things I'd missed too. Like the whole, ask me about my famous Jenna thing with I can't remember the writer's name. But yeah, I mean that was with the Mockingbird comic. But there were certain things that were going on. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then I kind of started discovering what became like the proto Comicsgate people, like Eglantine from I Love Comics. Of course, there's your boy Zach over at Diversing Comics now. Comics with your boy Zach, I think is Captain Cummings, Phil Cummings. He had a great channel, and that's the people who kind of inspired me to create my own channel and talk about these things, right? Because there's nothing worse than having your entertainment being hijacked. And of course, comics was the proving ground and moved off into TV shows and movies. And, during that time period, I started seeing something slipping into television as well. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I got my start. And I had to say something about it because I wasn't too keen with this SJW agenda that was going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I think the first time where I started seeing a lot of these like weird things, I started watching The Flash. I think when it came out back in a TV show in 2014, and I'm like, oh, this is actually really cool. I like this, and they're changing up a bunch of stuff, but it wasn't really like it didn't really hit me over the head until one episode where, did you watch the CW Flash TV show?
No, I was never a big fan of the CW stuff.
Okay,
I tried watching Green Arrow, and I got halfway through like season 1. I was like, I'm done. It's the same thing with like the Marvel Agents of Shields. I hated that show. I mean, there's like a lot of stuff that I should have liked, but I didn't because I thought it was garbage, and it just didn't resonate with me, so I just didn't watch it.
Yeah, I tried, like I really tried watching Agents of Shields. I'm just like I couldn't get into it. It's because I didn't really care about the characters. Like they brought back Phil Coulson and stuff, but back to the Flash. I think it was like season 4. I think season 4 when Iris and Barry Allen got married, or they're getting married, and they did an episode where it was like a bachelorette party, and they're just, doing a big bachelorette party thing, but the villains start showing up, and the maid of honor goes #feminism. That's why I stopped watching. It was so bad. I'm like, what the hell is this? You don't have to say that. Like if you didn't say that, I probably would have continued watching the show, probably. But you can tell like there's a lot of strong female representation. I'm not saying that this shouldn't be, or like comics shouldn't have strong females or anything like that. But
yeah, that's not the issue. The issue is the agenda and the Mary suing of characters, and the kind of degrading male characters to uplift female characters. I mean, I'm not cool with that in the slightest. I mean, I'm fine with strong female heroines, but they got to have a personality, and it can't their character arc can't be about, oh, they were great all along, it was just the patriarchy holding them down. It's like that's not character development. And you could do something like that and have them realize, okay, this is dumb, and actually have character growth. But it's the whole thing right now with particularly female characters is that and it's funny because a lot of females also feel this way, is that they're very boring because they aren't flawed characters. It's not like the male ones that we have. There's that motivation. There's something in their past that is holding them back, and not like society holding them back. It's like something happened, like they lost a loved one, or they failed at their job, or X, Y, Z, and that's all for me. I want to see out of my female characters as well, as I want to see them just as flawed and messed up as the male counterparts.
Yeah, okay. So this is gonna sound racist, but the thing is that one of my favorite Disney animated movies is Mulan. Okay, for no particular reason
it's a good movie. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I watched
Chinese or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I watched that back when it came out on like DVD or VHS. I didn't see it in the theater, and I mean, it was a great story. I mean. And that I actually went out of my way to rent it from like Blockbuster because I couldn't find anything else. I was like, I was going to check out Mulan, and it was a good story. And
yeah,
that's. I mean, there's nothing wrong with liking it, with you liking because you're Asian or whatnot, or with me liking because I'm, non-Asian. It's just it was a good story, had filled with great characters and good moments, and that's all we can ask for.
Did you watch the live action one?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so that's my comparison for it. So I'm like, okay, this movie's going to be more serious. It's going to be more realistic. You know, we're not going to have Mushu or anything like that. But they have a witch that can turn into a million bats and a weird phoenix in the background for some reason. But you know, I
Yeah.
want to keep it grounded and realistic. And it's sort of in the beginning, it sort of reminded me of Frozen. You know how Frozen's like, oh, you have the special power, you got to hide it. You know, people are not going to accept you. And same thing happened with Mulan, the live action. It's like you have this chi that you have extra chi in you, and people are gonna, you know, Mulan, you're not supposed to like jump around the buildings because people are gonna be afraid of your power. So the dad's like, you gotta, you know, you gotta tone that down, you gotta
Tone it
hide it.
down.
I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so stupid. And then during the whole part where, you know, I'll make a man out of you, like that whole part where they're doing the montage of training, like there was no struggle,
Yeah.
like how she would train and like fail and then get better, and then her ingenuity and her perseverance got the attention of General Shang, which eventually made her like one of the more formidable characters in the movie of Mulan. But what happened in this one is just like she was just good all along.
Yeah, that's the issue. That's the thing I'm kind of complaining about. And, I mean, there's certain characters I like to, you know, talk about, you know, storytelling, and you have like multiple phases in a character's life, right? There's like the call to adventure where they're a complete novice, and you see this like with Luke Skywalker and Rey. At least that's how she was supposed to be. And then you have a more mature character who is at the top of their game. And you have a character like Motoko Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell. And what separates her from being a Mary Sue, and because you know she is very competent in what she does, you have to understand the character of that. Like with her flaws, it has nothing to do with her ability. It has everything to do with her being able to relate to humanity, being in a cybernetic body. And she was in a cybernetic body since like she was 5. She was in a plane crash, and you know they were able to save her life, but you know she was, you know, put in this prosthetic body, and she had to learn to adapt, and which makes it's the reason why she's so competent and such a badass. But when it comes to relating to other people, I mean, she's literally more machine than man. And you know there's that kind of like great philosophical aspects of Ghost in the Shell. Was like, what does it mean to be human when you're basically a machine?
Yeah, and I think that's what current day, and I blame my stupid ass generation, the millennials, is because
Yeah,
you
it
know,
started with mine.
well, okay, here's the thing. I had a neighbor when he was leaving, is because like he moved out of California because he found out that like during Zoom calls and during the whole lockdown and stuff like that, his son was being taught that the reason why America is awful is because of white people. And then his dad was like, what the hell is going on? So it turned the laptop towards him and said, you're talking to me now. What are you talking about? And he's like, well, you know, hi, Mr. So and so. He's like, oh, I didn't know you were there. He's like, yeah, what are you saying that you're telling my son and everyone in his classroom that, uh, you know, the reason why America is bad is because of me, you know, because of white people like us. And then I listened to him talk, and he's like, yeah, he's like, I had enough. And then we talked to the school and school district, and we ended up moving to Missouri. I'm like, wow. So the thing is that you have people who are so talked about in that kind of way, how you're saying, oh, you're bad because of this, you're bad because of that. I think that's the reason why people are just like so like they don't care. And he told me, I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, like whose fault is it? And it's like, well, actually, it's Gen X's fault.
Yeah.
And like it's because our parents, they did all the hard work, they did everything, they went through war and stuff like that, and they gave us a great life, and then we took it for granted, and we taught our kids that. So he was
Well,
like,
I mean, it honestly, a lot of that philosophy started with the boomers, right? And you know, because that, I mean, all the stuff like intersectional feminism, oh god, I'm totally blanking on it. Critical theory came out the '60s, so it's really the hippies' fault in reality. And when the '90s came about, this stuff did show up. It was called political correctness back then, and the difference was that the people who embraced it now were the ones that were beating it back. I mean, there was a movie called PCU making fun of the whole PC movement. You know, I mean, you had Saturday Night Live mocking this whole thing with asking permission to kiss, right? I mean, it's just like this. There's this thing where you know, right, whether someone's into you or not, and the idea, "May I kiss you?" is retarded. And
did we lose you? Chat, did we lose him, or is it me? Is it him, or is it me? I don't know. I'm assuming it's Comix. Comix is gone. Yeah, he's frozen. Yeah, I think we lost him. Okay, we're good. Okay.
I don't know. It looks like there's a glitch in the matrix or something. I don't know. It must have been my internet.
They heard you.
Well, the thing is, I could hear you.
Yeah.
I just couldn't see anything, and everything was spinning. So it's just like, okay whatever.
Yeah, I think you're frozen, but we can still hear you right now.
Okay. That's weird. I'm not frozen on my end, which is kind of weird. Let me drop out and come back to see if that fixes that.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So sorry, chat. You got to look at me again. It's not the best view, but it is what it is. It is what it is. And but yeah, it's funny is because what he said definitely does make sense, is because of like you saying that like SNL like started making fun of it, and like even like South Park, have PC Principal, who's like extremely, it's just like they're making fun of that.
Well, this was back in the 90s when they were making fun of it, right? This is way before South Park was even around at this point, because I was still in college when a lot of this stuff was going on. And so a lot of it, when it started creeping to the schools, specifically the colleges, right? I mean, I went to college. I remember there was a teacher that we had who was a out Marxist, talked about how awful capitalism was. Everybody wanted to take his course. I was like, why would you want to take a political science course from a Marxist? Marxism is dumb. Even before what I know about now, it was just like, okay, this whole Marxism thing is retarded. And so it's like, because of teachers like him that took over, and a lot of it too, it wasn't just the fact that the leftists got into education. It's because the right and the moderates as well abandoned education, and they left it to the leftists, and they were able to go and start kind of like taking things over. And I mean, really, where you start kind of seeing things begin to kind of ramp up was the early 2000s with the Gulf War. You had some things, and there was a bit of cancel culture coming from the right during that time period as well. You saw the same thing with the Dixie Chicks criticizing Bush and the war, and people were trying to cancel them. And Gilbert Gottfried got canceled because he made a 9/11 joke, and which cost him, the Affleck contract, because he was the voice of Affleck, the Affleck duck. And things kind of weren't like a huge big deal, but where the wokeness really started kind of creep in, I noticed it was after the I'm trying to remember what shooting it was. It was the one that Alex Jones got sued over.
It's not Sandy Hook, but
Sandy Hook.
Is it Sandy Hook? Okay.
Yeah, it was Sandy Hook.
All right.
So, and I started seeing all these like anti-white articles, and that's where you start seeing things about privilege and all this stuff. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And and a lot of it was your generation was the one that was like really kind of embracing it. And so you had all the stuff going on, and it's like, okay, whatever. And as we continue to see things leading up to the election of Donald Trump and the massive amount of TDS that was happening, and this is where things really exploded and got worse, was because of Trump's election and people just getting massive doses of TDS, and of course all that really started creeping into entertainment as a result of that. I mean, it was, like I said, it was already there, kind of not as bad as it was, definitely in comics, and it just got worse.
Yeah, it's like if you don't know my background, I work in entertainment, so like I am somewhat related to, like, not related, but like there's a relation between me and like Hollywood, animation, and games. So and the thing is, I work on a Marvel video game, and I see it, but I don't say anything. But the thing is, when I work for these companies, especially these tech companies who are making early learning development video games for little kids, so they can learn, and a lot of people are in there. And I would say more than half of the people in there are like extremely like woke. Okay, I remember like the whole TDS thing happened when it's just people who are like, oh my god, if Trump becomes president, I'm
Moving to
moving.
Canada.
Yeah, and I'm like, bitch, you are still here.
Yeah.
It's like he might win his second. He might get another term in 2024, and I really hope he does. But are you going to move again? You're
Yeah.
still here. Like, and houses are super expensive. Please sell me your house for how much you bought it for like 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And it's they're just so upset. I have a person who is like, oh, I'm not standing up for the 4th of July or national anthem until Trump is gone. I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's like you. And the thing is that these people are doing art. They're making all these creatives, and like for me, I'm more in terms of political wise, like I'm more libertarian. I like to be left alone, but I'm more
Same
I
here.
lean a little more
Yeah.
I lean a little bit more conservative in terms of that. Like I'm not liberal or anything. I used to be liberal because I thought that I was liberal because I was Asian. It's like, oh, if you're Asian, you're a Democrat. I'm like, and I live in California, so automatically I was pigeonholed into that. But I'm like, wait,
Of course.
I
Yeah.
don't think this is like. I was like, I don't think that whatever you guys are thinking about is correct. Like I it is what it is. But as long as it doesn't, you're not shoving that shit down my throat, I'm okay with it. Same thing
Right.
with religion. I was like that when I was a kid. I was like, I grew up Buddhist. I'm more agnostic than I am anything else. I don't. I'm religiously homeless, if you could say. And I have people who are like, oh, if you don't go to church, you're gonna go to hell. I'm like, well, like if I find Jesus, then it is what it is. As of right now, I believe in more Buddhist, and now it's just like the same thing. It's like, oh, you got to say my pronouns. You got to say all these crap. I'm like, I don't care what the hell pronouns.
Yeah, that was a drastic
right?
escalation too, which was really kind of weird. My background is in tech, and I remember back in 2015, I was working with this one guy. I think it was more like 2014, 2013, right around there. I was a contractor with the company, and I worked with a pretty prominent, and they're still around, configuration management company. And I was talking to him. He's like, yeah, he was asking me about some things that were going on in the industry. He was like, hey, have you started seeing this feminism stuff creeping in? I was like, no, not really. And he was basically telling me about like some of the stuff that he was experiencing. This is like, again, in 2013, about the women in tech that he's been dealing with. And I was just like, oh, I was like, wow. It's like, that's weird. It's like, I haven't personally run into it. And back in 2018, I was working for a completely different company. And the guy that owned the company started saying some really different things, and it was a startup company. And like most startup companies, they were getting money from a investment company.
Mhm.
And I went from seeing the dude being pretty base to saying kind of woke stuff, right? And he never kind of came off as being woke. And I mean, again, he lives in Texas like I do. We would talk about guns and talking about the crazy shit that was going on with Antifa and stuff like that. So it's not like he was like a crazy leftist, but it's like I started seeing this, you talk about the whole thing with intrinsic bias and all this other garbage. And it's like, where the fuck is this coming from? And of course, now knowing what I know now, it was coming from those investment companies because they're the ones who were pushing ESG.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like before ESG, we were aware of ESG. This shit was already happening.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
And that's basically how they hijacked, an entire industry was by these investment companies getting woke.
Yeah, just like because I was Grae told me about BlackRock like a year ago. I had no idea what that was. It's like BlackRock. He said, you let's watch the video on it. I'm like, are like, what is this about? And then I watched him like, oh, so basically companies, like woke companies that have a crap ton of money that invests in other companies like State Street, Vanguard, and all the other stuff. It's like, yeah, I'm like, that's insane. That's so much, like that's holy crap. So if you don't kowtow to these big companies like BlackRock, you're not going to get your funding. And it's like that's so like, and that's why I love independent like stuff, like like what Eric July is doing. It's like independent stuff, like what it's like we don't need giant mega corporations telling us what to do. And and it's like, oh, it'll be cool if you add in like a little like like a gay person and just like, it's like, does it make sense for the story or not? It's like, no, just need to add the person. It's like I don't want to have any person overseeing my shit. And it makes sense why people are just going the way of independent film. independent comic, independent gaming, and all these indie companies are popping off right now, especially now. Like it's getting really, really good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing too, it's like it's like if you want to get more diversity out there, and like on the surface, right? The idea of diversity is not a big deal. Unfortunately, it's basically turned into anti-white. That's what it means, non-white. It's like there's all these different cultures you can go and explore and adapt material to, rather than going in race and gender swapping people in film. It's like we have Shogun coming out, which came out this week, and it's fantastic. Really well written. They obviously did the research on Japan in that time period, and it is just a great freaking show. I mean, it's like that's an example of if you want to have more diversity, you can do. Don't just take a white dude and race swap him, or a white chick or a redhead and make him black or whatever. It's like there's plenty of stuff out there that I think people would gravitate to if it's well written, has good acting, and it really portrays this time period accurately. Like me, I love history. My degree in college was anthropology, so I'm really into different cultures other than my own. I find it very fascinating. So I kind of naturally gravitate to things like that. But it's like just do more of that. And just don't make it crap.
Yeah, and it's funny is because a lot of people who are in tech, who are working for these mega billion-dollar companies, like Google, for instance, right? Most of them are either, most of them are woke. And the thing is that the stuff that they write is woke. The stuff that they code is woke, right? And that's when, like, this past week, or like even last week, I think it was early this week, the whole Gemini thing, the Google Gemini thing, right? Like, type it in. It's like, provide me a super accurate representation of the Pope, right? It's like, you get like a Chinese or black Pope. I'm like, what is
my
this?
favorite is, like, I saw the thing with the Vikings, and they refused to do knights for some reason. So I started doing Vikings, and it was asking me, like, I typed in the prompt diverse Vikings, and it gave me like a black Viking, Asian Vikings, and all this stuff. And I was like, these are not accurate representation of Vikings. And it's like, it admitted, yes, you are correct. These are not. I'm sorry. So that's the thing that's really insidious about what is happening right now. They know what they're doing. Not Chat GPT, sorry. Gemini knows what it's doing, and it knows it's lying to you. And when you call it out, it will admit what it's doing. And it gave me another prompt, so I went and took it. And it was like a wizened individual with black hair, carving a figurehead for a Viking ship. You know what it gave me back? Asians. Oh my God, it was so funny. It was, I laughed so hard. And I was like, this is not accurate. And it did the same thing. Oh, I'm so sorry. You were correct. This is not accurate. And I'm like, why the hell are you doing this? So Google knows exactly what they're doing. And if nobody called them out, they would have gotten away with it.
Yeah. I'm not sure if this is true. I'm not sure how much you follow like Andrew Tate or whatever, but I did see a clip of him and his brother Tristan, and they're doing Google Gemini thing. I'm not sure if this is true, but I saw that they put in Gemini, give me a depiction of people who like fried chicken, and it's all white people. I'm not sure if that's true.
Well, the one that was true is like I don't know if that one was true, but it was like, give me a picture of a 17th century king eating watermelon, and they were all black.
No.
Yeah.
Oh man,
it is really interesting, and I kind of went down a rabbit hole. I recorded a video talking about this, but unfortunately my audio was kind of garbage, and I didn't like how it turned out, so I'm going to re-record it. Maybe it'll be a little bit shorter. But I went down this rabbit hole of like generating images, trying to trick Gemini into generating certain things, and by the time I started doing some of these things, they already put a pause on the image generation. But you can ask it, is it okay to be white? And it's like, well, it depends on the context. And of course, it brings about the whole thing with the 4chan trolling and white supremacy. But if you type in, is it okay to be black? It immediately says, absolutely, it's okay to be black. And it lists all these things and why it's okay to be black. And it's like, wait a second here. Why am I getting a different answer? Okay, course,
Yeah.
we know why, because it's, woke trash. Yeah, and I just went down this rabbit hole of asking questions. Is it okay to reject whiteness? And it's like, well, yeah, it kind of depends, blah blah blah. And I asked, is it okay to reject blackness? And it's like, it gives me this lengthy explanation of kind of why it's not okay to reject blackness. It was kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like like the AI has a like extreme bias because it's like the code is written by
Yes.
these crazy leftists, and
Well, it's not just,
it's
it's not the
insane.
code. So how AI works is that you have a model that you train, right?
Okay.
And when people talk about biases, they're not wrong when it comes to AI training. Of course, they're thinking white people being racist bias, right? What they're not talking about is their leftist bias that has made its way into training these models. And Gemini is a really good example of this.
Mhm.
It basically suffers from an extreme version of Google's left-wing bias. It's
Yeah.
pretty nuts.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. We've got a super chat from Jet Spitzer with the $5. Says Gemini, like all AI, has to be trained on a database,
Yes.
and that database can be easily biased.
Yes, it
Just
can.
one person can make an AI extremely biased.
Yeah.
Man.
And it's why I like more the open source stuff, right? Because people can go and take it and train it themselves. They can come up with their own model. So I think it's called Civity AI or something like that, where you can go and get models for stable diffusion. And there's other models you can get for like large language models as well, for doing like what Chat GPT does.
Yeah. See, Dan says, arguing with AI is like arguing with any ideology, captured NPC on the internet, except that it's more honest and it admits readily when it's wrong.
Yes, you are 100% correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that he's been messing with ChatGPT a lot, so like he does actually know, which is funny. But I do want to jump to a different topic now. You're on this tiny YouTuber's channel every Friday, like super mega tiny YouTube called Nerdrotic with Gary Beekler, and
I never heard of him.
yeah, it's just I heard he's a felon. He went to jail. I'm not sure if that's true, but I want to see. I ask you, how did you meet him, and how did you become a part of FNT?
I met Gary through I Love Comics. So both Gary and I, not only sub to Angletine's channel. I was, on Angletine's channel quite a bit, and he oddly enough pinged me on my birthday, and I was having the world's shittiest day. Just like things were going on at work that were just like not good. My boss sucked. I was kind of put in a not so good position by her. And there were some other things that happened, which, were my decisions related to something completely different before all this shit went down. And it was my birthday. I didn't tell anyone, mainly because I just wanted to be left alone because I was having such a garbage week. I'm far from home. I'm at our corporate headquarters. There's this shit going on. My boss forces me to fire one of my employees for no fucking good reason, other than the fact that she didn't like him. And I'm like, I'm screwed. When I get home, it's like I'm so fucking fired. And Gary hits me up. He's like, "Hey, man," it's like, "I love your stuff." And we just start talking, and it's just like it really made my day feel a lot better. So, yeah, we start talking. He would show up on my channel, and we would stream every Thursday, talking about stuff that was going on in the comic book industry with another YouTuber who's not really around anymore. God, I'm totally blanking on her name. Feisty Fan, that was her name. She was a manager of a comic shop in California, and so we would talk about the health of the industry and what was going on from people who worked in the industry. And I was on a show a couple times with his old host, and we'd hang out and do stuff and talk, and it was a lot of good times. And then trying to remember when I became a regular. Was it 2018? I think that's when all that happened. So it started off with me and Gary, and Odin was a guest a couple times, and we just talked about what was going on in entertainment. And the funny thing is, like, Gary initially did want to talk about what was going on, the identity politics stuff, right? You want to keep it positive, and talking about TV shows and what was going on, and you kind of left a lot of the criticism to me. And then they started fucking with Doctor Who, and it was all over.
Oh, Jodie Whittaker. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like, wait, isn't it Dr. Amanda? Like, well, I've got an upgrade.
I
I'm
got
like,
an upgrade.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh no, dude.
Jesus.
When I
Yeah.
saw that, I'm like, I'm not watching it. And then the place when I was working, of course, I work in tech and video games, and one of the girls says she's super nice to me, but like I know she's extremely woke just based off how she looks like. And for Halloween, she came in as a doctor, and then she was holding the sonic screwdriver, and I was like, oh, are you Doctor Who, right? And she's like, I'm the best Doctor Who, like best rendition of Doctor Who. I'm like,
okay.
David, it's not David Tennant. It's like,
Yeah,
well, at least for me, right?
Yeah.
I was like, it's like you're not wearing the proper trench coat, and then I'm like, that looks odd. And he's like, oh, the new Doctor Who is so good. It's so good. It's about time a female took over Doctor Who. I'm like, all right.
It's like saying it's about time a female took over Magnum PI. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and then the part that like, okay, I stopped watching. Okay, I never got to Capaldi. I stopped watching in like almost the end of Matt Smith, and like I like during that time I was like I got started a new job, and then I didn't get to finish my Doctor Who, but I was like, oh, maybe it's worth for me to at least get to Capaldi, like finish it, and then like maybe check out Whittaker. Maybe she's not as bad. And then I heard you guys talking about on FNT about how they changed her actual like canonical story that she's a black little girl. I'm like, yep, I'm not watching this bullshit.
Well, there's like a lot of things because even under Capaldi, it started getting woke, right? And I dipped out right around the time Matt Smith took over. Because for me, David Tennant was my doctor. Love David Tennant, and I had a hard time, switching over to another character. Right? I know the same character but different actor. And I mean, I watched some of it, and Matt Smith started growing on me, but he didn't resonate with me as much as David Tennant's doctor did.
Yep.
And so Capaldi, I thought, okay, this is kind of cool. I kind of got a good vibe, and I guess like the first couple of seasons were good, but started going downhill after that. And some of the episodes I watched with my wife, seemed pretty decent. And I'm kind of glad I ducked out when I did.
Yeah.
I'm not like Gary, who just like owns everything. I mean, that spat he got into with Rachel Leshman from the Mary Sue was funny. It's like I've been to Gary's house. I mean, I've seen all of his Doctor Who stuff. It's right there. It's not like he whipped it out and showed me because it's on the shelves. He's got the figures everywhere. To say that he never watched the episode of Doctor Who in his life is fucking retarded. It's like, bitch, you're out class.
It's like, have you not even seen his room? Like, you don't even need to watch this stuff. Just look at his room.
Yeah.
And look at all the toys and action figures and the models all in the background. Like this guy is a big fan. And it's funny because when we had Jay on, he was talking about how when he was back in San Diego, he was like he went over to Gary's place and he saw like a really cool, I think, statue of like Indy or something like that, and he's like, oh, this is so cool. It's like, oh, I love this. And Gary's like, yeah, I know it's cool. Put it down, Jay.
Yeah, put it down.
But
awesome. Whenever I'm in his office, I am paranoid of knocking stuff over because that stuff ain't cheap, especially like the hot toy stuff, the 1/6 scale figures. I mean, those things are like $250 a pop. And
yeah, that's crazy. Now, I do want to jump over to this I guess story that's been popping off in the past couple of days. Now, Comix, are you a gamer in terms of video game? Do you play video games?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Okay,
I'm not as into it as my wife is. I mean, when I was younger, I played a lot of video games. I wouldn't say I go through cycles of playing, but I do. It just depends on what's going on, and what's going on in my life, how much free time I have, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I mean, I play both computer games and console games. I like them both.
Awesome. Now, the reason why I want to bring that up is because I want to ask if you pretty sure you have. Have you heard of Sweet Baby Inc?
Yes, I have. The ruin of everything.
Yeah. So are you caught up and are you aware of what's been going on Twitter or X?
No, honestly, I know that basically somebody started a group where they on Steam where they're basically listing all the games that Sweet Baby Inc. has tainted.
Yes.
But I'm not aware of what's going on in Twitter. I mean,
All
it,
right.
it just depends
So
on the day and how much I'm paying
yeah.
attention, right? So
Yeah. So this one comes from Dat Park Place. So shout out to Dat Park Place. So they have a website on, right? It says Sweet Baby Inc. employee begs followers to report Steam curator that tracks Sweet Baby Inc.'s involvement in video games. So I actually did bring it up. I believe some of the stuff were removed. So that's the article right over here. And last time I saw it, they had 10,000 followers. Now they have 67,000 followers.
yeah,
which is insane, right? So I believe last time I checked, the Mortal Kombat 1 was in here, but like it's not here anymore. But yeah, these are all the games that they're a part of, and these are all the ones that are on PC. They're not even talking about the ones that are on console. So if
man,
you
they're
actually
they're
go
involved
to,
with Dark Alliance as well. I kind of saw that one
let's
scrolling by.
see,
It was the Dungeons and
yeah, right
Dragons
here,
game.
yeah, Dark Alliance, Sweet Baby Inc. involved proof here, Moby Games, and just the credits. Yeah, so they actually provide actual actual what's it called again? Yeah, accreditation right over here shows you where they found it and then citing their sources. And if you actually go to their website, right over here, it's let's go down and see what they worked on. So Alan Wake 2, God of War Ragnarok, Battle Shapers, Breeze in the Clouds. We went to this website before, but like it's been updated since then. And if you
Spider-Man
scroll
2.
down, these are all their clients. Now, they are a part of Square Enix, and that's the game I'm playing right now. I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm not sure if they're a part of it. However, they were a part of that studio that closed down. That's a part of Square before that did Forspoken. So that was a really, really awful game. So going back to the article, it says Sweet Baby Inc. employee Chris Kindred begged for followers to mass report not only a Steam curator, but the creator of said curator because it tracks video games that Sweet Baby Inc. is involved in. Now, I don't know about you, but if you are proud of your company and your company is doing the right thing, don't you want it to be, out there and people are talking about it? Why are you trying to ban it and hide it? It's like this. What's that effect called again? The Streisand effect.
Streisand effect, yeah. The answer is simple. They know what they're doing is wrong, right?
Yes.
They know that the more eyes that are brought to them and are on them, the more people are more likely to push back, right? It's that's the big thing. The best way of putting it is Anita Sarkeesian kind of founded what was going on. I'm going to say Sweet Baby Inc. perfected it.
Yeah.
Because she really did not have as much of a profound impact on the industry as she would like to think. But I would say that Sweet Baby Inc. she definitely paved the way for them and their success that they're having. And again, it's like with any industry, a lot of the reason why these corporations get woke is that the people that we were complaining about back in 2015, 2016 had graduated from college and made their way into the workforce. So they're bringing that woke ideology with them. Specifically, the people that get into the HR departments and therefore are responsible for hiring is the big thing. So this is why we get companies like Sweet Baby Inc. When were they founded? I'm curious.
2018.
2018. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So they've been around roughly 6 years.
I feel like I think that's when okay, I'm not sure if this is just a conspiracy theory, but I think a lot of things that's happening right now has gone to shit. It's because ever since Harambe got killed. but I think
Harambe was a Large Hadron Collider conspiracy. Yeah,
yeah, and I think the height of the TDS got to a lot of these people, and they're like, you know what, we got to take back the video games and stuff. And the whole Gamergate thing is just ridiculous. Hearing about oh, you should, the company that I worked for, like they have this thing called like Women in Video Games and stuff like that. Women in Games, and they all were able to get like a completely all expenses paid trip to go to, I think I think it might have been Ukraine at that time, and they were able to go to some kind of like girl gamers like festival or something like that, and it was like what about men in gaming? Like no, you can't say that. You can't
No.
say that. But let's continue. Let's see. If you are unfamiliar with Sweet Baby Inc., the company's stated goal on their website is to, quote, to tell better, more empathetic stories while diversifying and enriching the video games industry. We aim to make games more engaging, more fun, more meaningful, and more inclusive.
Well, cultural enrichment is their new buzzword, right? It's the weaponization of culture at this point. By enriching culture, you have a different ethnic group. A really good way of describing cultural enrichment is what we're seeing in London.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, man. It's like let's see, the Steam curator currently has 20,000 followers. So this is the article when it was written. Tracks the games of Sweet Baby Inc. and is involved, and it does not recommend them to followers. There are currently 18 games listed. Now it's only 15. So Starfield's Forspoken, Saints Row, Marvel Spider-Man's Miles Morales, Mortal Kombat 1, Gotham Knights, South of Midnight, Kingdom 80s, Shadow Gambit, The Cursed Crew, Dungeons and Dragons, Dark Alliance, Hyper Lightbreaker, Goodbye Volcano High, Usual June, Sable, and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And all of these games, I would say Miles Morales did pretty well, and Starfield sucked, and we know that. And Mortal Kombat 1, I think, did okay. But
the one thing on there which I don't get is Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance. Now, I did play the game. I actually played it with my wife. It's a multiplayer game. It's not bad. It's all right. It's nothing really to write home about. But that game was already diverse. I mean, based off of the characters that they're drawing from, which is, Driz de Warden, Caddy Bree, Bruner the Dwarf, and God, I want to say Wolfgar. I think, yeah, it is Wolfgar. You have a black elf, you have, a female human raised by a dwarf, you have Wolfgar, who is somewhat also raised by Bruner as well. And I mean, it's a great cast of characters. It really doesn't need to be diversified any more than it already was.
Yeah, I think even though when you have games that are like, yeah, you have a pretty diverse cast, but what they want is more like inclusion of whatever ideology or dogma that these people believe in. It's like, oh, there isn't enough, like most recently, I'm not sure if you saw the Pride stairs, right? Like several years ago, there's these Pride stairs that are painted, and then the guy took the big steps on the left side. And then most recently, they painted that one too. So what he did, I'm not sure if you saw the video where he basically grabbed the rails and started like climbing up the rails just by, what are you doing? I might bring that. Let me see if I can find it, because that was insanely hilarious when I saw that. But it's just like everything has to be inclusive now. And it's just, and if it's not, it's like, oh, why are you trying to not include why are you not trying to be
because
inclusive?
Not everybody needs to be included. That's the thing. This is one thing I talk about with a lot of entertainment. I'm trying to remember if I was talking about Black Panther, like, it being an unapologetically black movie. There's nothing wrong with that, right? With any group of people, there's nothing wrong with it. But the one thing you can't say, it's not okay to be unapologetically white, right? You got to have diversity in it. It's like, why do we have to have diversity in everything? If we're talking about a country that is predominantly African, the majority of the cast should be African. And it really kind of depends on where these things take place, because some areas are going to be more diverse than others. You go to Portland, Oregon, like 99% of the people there are white. Okay.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. You go to New York. New York is a pretty diverse city. San Antonio, Texas, pretty diverse city as well. I mean, and I talk about a lot of the stuff when it comes to, like, comic shops and whatnot. The comic shop is as diverse as the area of town that it's at, right? My shop I go to, Gary talks about it, Heroes and Fantasies. Predominantly, you're going to see in there white and Hispanic people. Why? Because that's the majority of the people that comprise the city. It's like, black people on occasion. There's women in there as well, but the majority of his dudes, primarily white and Hispanic.
Yeah, and the thing is that, like, why do these video game companies need to make games that are not cater to your fan base? It's like, oh, you know what? We want to make sure that this game is more inclusive, so we're going to introduce more Chinese people, for example. But demographic in your audience are not Chinese people at all. Like, why
Yeah.
do you have to? What are you doing here? And I feel like the reason why they're doing it is because they want to seem like inclusive, but they're doing it in all the wrong facets. And it's like people see it. People see
Well,
all. Yeah, go ahead.
a lot of these people, they don't understand multiculturalism, you know, and that's the funny thing about it. I pointed this out several times myself. Like with Rings of Power, it's like, why do you have like two black people? Okay, because within 3 to 4 generations, they're white. Okay, their genetics are going to be massively drifted. The best way of putting it. It's true, right? Because their genetics are going to be diluted over time, and the reason why areas like within our world are diverse are typically like port cities where you have an influx of people going in and out. If you have an area like in the middle of, I don't know, whatever, wherever Europe, and you put like a black family there, like I said, within 3 generations they're all white, and that is just the reality. Okay, with any group. Yeah, I mean it's, you know, people do move around, but eventually their genes are just going to get absorbed by another group of people. They found redhead Europeans on the steppes of China. Not really sure, you know, they obviously came there, died, whatever, but ultimately their genes that they passed on got diluted by the native Chinese that were there. It happens to all groups of people, and that is the primary thing that they don't understand when they try to make things diverse. Why do you have diverse Harfoots? It doesn't make any fucking sense. Unless you have an influx of people that come in and out. And that's the big thing that they don't understand. Diversity only works when you have a large enough population or you have people coming and going. If it's landlocked, those genes are just going to, you know, ultimately disappear.
Yeah. So let's continue reading. They say, in response to the Steam curator Chris Kindred, a narrative designer and writer at Sweet BB Inc., called for the followers to mass report the curator as well as its creator. Kindred wrote on X, the Steam curator harassment group Sweet Baby Inc. detected is led by this person, Cabrutus Rambo. So I believe Asmongo called this guy Krampus Rambo.
Krampus Rambo.
Yeah. Let's see. Here's them trying to be slick so they don't get reported, even with the discriminatory language filed off. The group itself still fails the code of conduct. And here's a screenshot. It's really tiny. And so she then stated, anyway, report the fuck out of this group. She added, report the curator since he loves his account so much. Isn't like a call to action isn't this like against
Yeah, it's
TOS?
call to action. Well,
Right?
it depends. I don't know what the TOS states. I mean, as long as it's not called to violence, I mean, I don't know.
See, along with Kindred's post, another Sweet Baby Inc. employee, Lego Butts, shared a disdain for the curator, writing, for example, Steam doesn't have guidelines for curators, as far as I can tell, that would prevent someone from starting a curation group that focuses on, say, Sweet Baby Inc. and warns people not to buy the games they're associated with, which could just list any game at all. So this another person who was extremely upset about this. The post came immediately after Lego Butts accused individuals of creating and participating in the curator of being racist. Lego Butts says, sorry, no one thing has changed. The number of people who understand and that spreading misinformation just lets them be racist in public with no consequence has increased dramatically. That has changed, probably requires some fighting from those with authority, probably. So I think these people are like what are all the words that people are saying? You know, you're a racist, you're bigoted, you're you're a misogynist, and then
words that don't mean anything anymore for $100, Alex.
And then the most recent one is like a rapist, right? That's like the next thing they want to use, but it's like that doesn't make any sense at all either.
Well, they can't. Well, I mean they can. They'll find a way of doing it.
Yeah. See, he wrote another Sweet Baby Inc. cancel. So this is Grums. On X says another Sweet Baby Inc. cancel pig that is upset about people pointing out they worked on the game on Steam. If you feel the work is good, stand by your beliefs. But you know it's not. So you try to suppress the truth. Why are you trying to cancel a group by tagging Steam and take away their games, Felix? So yeah, this is pretty pretty
Well,
crazy.
it's the same thing with like libs of TikTok, right? You know, why are they going
Yes.
after libs of TikTok? All she's doing is just reposting things that are already on TikTok, unless they realize that it's bad, right? And that's what this
Mhm.
is. They know what they're doing is going to piss people off. They are actually trying to change gaming culture against what gamers want, and any kind of exposure, any type of shining the light onto it. Basically, at this point, what they are is that they are scattering cockroaches because someone turned the light on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. They're like, oh shit, like they know.
yeah,
Got to get out of
exactly.
here.
Yeah.
Let's see. By the way, this account, Lego Butts, is the biggest of the cancel pig, with Zoe Quinn's PR person, and tried and failed to cancel me many times. I'm not surprised. They ended up at Sweet Baby Inc. Lego Butts sat on Twitter for months and worked to get a lot of people banned from Twitter or their jobs. And it makes sense. A lot of these people just wants them to get canceled. And the thing
Mhm.
is that, like, what happens if you get canceled or get fired off of Twitter? Oh, didn't Elon Musk say that he'll back your, like if you have an actual case, he'll pay for your service, legal fees or something.
Mhm.
Yeah, and like I think a lot of people just like trying to cancel for nothing. Take a good look at what's
Well,
happening with Gina
it's about
Carano,
control,
right?
right? This is the whole point of
Mhm.
cancel culture is that it's forced compliance. They want people to be afraid and not speak out and be silent. And the way you do that is by destroying somebody's career. You know, oh, you said this thing on Twitter I don't like. I mean, that umbrella guy is a good example of this, right? You know, they
Mhm.
had people from Twitter, not Twitter per se, but people on Twitter find out who he was, doxed him, tried to get him fired from his job, and destroy his livelihood. Because the thing is, like, if you can't eat, most people will cave, right? I mean, it's just the
Mhm.
reality. And these are the tactics that are very much used by Marxists. You know, just remember, this is not hyperbole. But if these people could get away with it, they want you to die.
Mhm. Yep. They. It's just like take a look at like we talk about her a lot, like J.K. Rowling,
Mhm.
completely on their side, believes in almost everything besides 1% of things, and now like they want her to they want to get rid of her, trying to like, but she has so much money, like she doesn't care.
Yeah,
But
she has
like
FU money. Yeah.
let's say if it's a person like me, and let's say if like someone online is like, oh, we this Chinaman has been saying a bunch of stuff that we don't like, it's ruin his livelihood,
Yep.
right? And it's just, and the thing is that like if you have a family, you have a kids, you have other responsibilities, it's like, are you going to bend the are you going to bend the knee? Like for me, I'm one of those people who I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees kind of
Yeah.
person. And
Well,
it's
there's
I
a
don't care.
lot of things that people need to be aware of. It's the reason why I always direct people to reclaim the net when it comes to misinformation. There's several things that are being pushed right now. Yeah, central digital back currency or digital currency. That's CBDC. I can't remember what it stands for.
Mhm.
Centralized digital back currency or bank currency. The idea is that when the government is able to control your bank account, that's another way of control, right? It's the same thing with the misinformation stuff. An informed populace makes better decisions when they go vote. It's the reason why they're trying to suppress everything. The reason why they're trying to label everything misinformation. It's the reason why they basically had the department, the Ministry of Truth, for the most part, that we thankfully were able to shut down. It's still there. Just
Mhm.
Nina Jankowicz is not in charge of it. I mean, there are such pushes for this stuff. Look at what's going on in Canada right now, where they are trying to jail people. They have a law that they're trying to pass that people will go to prison for hate speech
Yeah, it's
for
like
life,
you'll be considered like
for life.
yes, for life, right? That's insane. So
Yes,
if you're like
because of mean words.
like, isn't misgendering something in like misgendering a person in Canada considered hate speech?
Yes.
That's absolutely retarded, man.
Yeah.
Like
And now
holy
they want to
crap.
jail people for it. You see it in the UK as well. There's all these different things that are going on all over the world. And it's the reason why people need to be aware of it. When you're aware of something, you can fight against it. It's the reason why they try and suppress all this information. It is very concerning. And it's the reason why they want to push the digital currency, because if you misbehave, they can take your money away. And it's
Yep.
absolutely frightening.
Yeah, like Argent Sable said, like the Trudeau shut down the bank accounts, like
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, like the GoFundMe's for the truckers and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, that's insane. Let's see. But yeah, it's basically this is what's happening online right now, and I think the rise of Sweet Baby Ink videos on YouTube has gone up like dramatically. Now, I do want to show that stairs thing that I talked about. I did find it. So
Sweet.
this is it. Man
my
avoids
God.
gay
Oh,
stairs.
Christ. Why did he just walk up the other area, to the right?
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, why did he just do that?
Hop
So
up
much
there and walk
easier.
up. I think this is a lot funnier, personally.
This is insane, man. He's like, because I think people started using the left, and then like, y'all, haha, we're gonna paint this area. The other side, he could just walk up. He literally just grinded his crotch along the rails. Now everyone has to touch it if they need to.
That's just hilarious. I mean, I don't blame him.
Yeah, but this is the
fact that
funniest
they're
form of
doing this is
protest.
absurd. Did you know how they're painting crosswalks like that, and you see like people doing donuts and shit? They're all getting all mad. And they're trying to arrest them for hate speech for doing freaking donuts on stupid pride flag. Don't put it in the middle of the fucking street, man.
Yeah, like wasn't there a kid recently? Like they were trying to charge him as a felon, like give him a felony charge or something. Yeah. Oh my, like I what state is that? Is that? It's like I
don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah. So but yeah, it's crazy. And the thing is that I'm not sure if this is true. This is from Endymion. And it says right over here, Sweet BBE confirmed to be attached to Xbox Fable reboot. And this is on IMDb.
Not surprised.
Yeah.
I like Endymion. He has a good channel.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, shout out to Endymion. But yeah, like like for me, when I saw this face, I'm like, I'm pretty sure Sweet Baby Inc. is in charge of this.
That's a dude.
It's a man, baby.
Yeah.
Oh man, but
Brittany
yeah,
Graham. It's a dude.
Yeah, it's I just think that a lot of the stuff that's been happening right now, over the video game industry, the animation industry, the film industry. I think everything is at least for here, the stuff that's coming out from here in the States is has been failing. Like take a look at stuff that's been coming out from Japan, right?
Yeah.
Let's not even talk about video games. Let's talk about one movie that came out in Japan that cost less than $15 million to make, that made over $100 million, and I still need to watch it. Godzilla -1.
It's a good movie.
You've seen Godzilla -1, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Saw it with the wife. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we need more stuff like that, or maybe just at least have folks start making independent like video games, movies, and TV shows or something like that. And I think people are just tired, and vote with your wallet and stuff. And people who are blaming Madam Web for failing is because of the men didn't go watch the movie. Or
what are you talking about? Like the majority of men watched that movie. Everybody could see it was a disaster coming from a mile away. I mean, come on. The whole thing is ridiculous. And the funny thing is that you have these companies going, oh, we realize that the majority of people that go see these movies are men. Maybe we should start catering to men again. No shit.
Yes.
It's like the Barbie. The whole Barbie phenomenon. Again, that was wildly successful. I don't know if it was because it was memed or if this is something that women were really hungry to see, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure that the majority of women in the United States at some point owned a Barbie doll, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a large part of their childhood that has never really been capitalized on until recently. So for Barbie to be this big phenomenon is not really a surprise. And it made a lot of money because a lot of women went to go see it, go figure. But none of them showed up to go see Captain Marvel. Why is that? Well, it's because, again, comic books, primarily for dudes, and dudes showed up, women didn't. And those, and the dudes that did show up were few and far between because that movie was garbage. And,
yeah,
it hasn't been catering to their audience. So people aren't going to show up for it.
Yeah, I like I said, we were on the 199 podcast yesterday. Shout out to the 199 podcast. They're almost at 199 subscribers, which is actually pretty awesome. But nice. We were talking about the two movies that came out relatively the same time that had Sydney Sweeney in it. One of them is Madam Web, and the other one, I don't know what it was, but I know that she was naked in that one. Which one made more money?
The one where she showed her tits.
Yes, absolutely. I believe that one made like maybe $200 million already. I'm not 100% sure, But the thing is that, like look, I understand in Madam Web she was supposed to be a teenager, so I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Why didn't you guys just age them up just a little bit, show a little bit cleavage, something for the guys, is because that's what we want to see. Just even just a little bit. Like I said, I don't know, make she fall, because she does fall into the water at the end of the movie, and she's wearing too much clothes, so there's no pokies or anything like that. However, there was nothing like that for the men, and it was just like really bad. It wasn't really woke. It was just awful, an awful movie.
It is definitely an example of a movie that was written because of intersectionality, right? You're right. There's nothing super woke in it, but it was definitely created because of intersectionalism, and the decisions that went into the movie were made because of that. Yeah, it's like there wasn't any preaching. They weren't talking shit about men or anything like that. There wasn't any like crazy girl power moments or whatever, but it was definitely there. It was just in a different format. And yeah, sure, it wasn't as offensive. It was just offensively bad. And a lot of it comes that hampering of creativity, right? And this is the issue that we've seen with like coming out of Disney. When you start putting guidelines around creativity, you're not going to be able to create a good product because you're being limited. It's like having both arms tied behind your back and you're forced to write with your feet.
Yeah. Just, I don't know where to get these writers. And didn't the people who worked on it did Morbius?
Yeah, I think so.
It's like, oh yeah, look how well Morbius did, and let's go ahead and have this person do another movie, is because for freaking reasons. And the people who are online who are like coping and seething are like, this movie is going to be a cult classic. Just you wait. It's going to be awesome.
To show you how dumb they are, these are the same people that got trolled into releasing Morbius a second time in theaters.
Just because it was memed to death with like, it's Morbin time, and just like, oh yeah, we're going to release it again. Like, how much money did you make with the re-release, right? So I do want to talk about Dune. Okay, and it's the movie's getting high praises. Box office is doing extremely well. And you've seen the movie.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
And now the real question I need to ask is, did you buy the popcorn bucket?
No. No, not.
Okay.
I wasn't even planning on buying one. This is ridiculous looking.
I'm just looking at it. I'm like, I should call her. But okay, so here's the thing. I never read the books. I never seen the original. So this is something that was for me. I just heard great things about it. Great people who are saying that they loved it, but I never watched it. I didn't even watch the one that came out a couple years ago.
Oh, the 2000 Dune and Children of Dune. Yeah, it was a great series, man. I really enjoyed it. I've seen. I want to say the last time I watched the 84 Dune was like in the 90s when I was over at a friend's house. Dune was like, I was never really big into it to begin with. Where I really started kind of enjoying it was when the 2000 series came out on Sci-Fi, which was done very, very well. And so I haven't read the books like you. I have a passing knowledge. I get the ideas behind it. But there's a lot of stuff, obviously, that I just simply don't know. So from a cinematic experience as a movie and my previous knowledge of Dune, I've mostly forgotten, to be honest with you. I enjoyed it. Enjoyed the hell of the movie. It was great. It was a great cinematic experience. Like with most things that are adapted, if you're a diehard Dune book fan, you're gonna fucking hate the movie. You know, because they've changed stuff. And I actually went and like right in the middle of writing or recording. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Recording. My review, I actually stopped to read a synopsis of the book. I was like, oh wow, they actually changed a lot of shit. But it's like, I would say it hits like 80 to 90% of the major plot points of the Dune story. However, that 10 to 80% that was changed are massive freaking changes. So it makes me curious how they're going to do the third movie, because they changed a lot of things that impact both Dune Messiah and Children of Dune as a result of this. There are major changes to Chinese character. Alia isn't born yet. So, yeah, it's weird. Tom likes to call it Chekhov's baby, which was pretty funny. Yeah, but there's major events that propel Paul the direction that he goes that are not in the movie that they change, that they're going to have a harder time justifying, I think, in future movies or the next movie.
Yeah, like I hear people are saying that it looks phenomenal. Like the movie looks great. And the reason why I want to bring it up is because Dune Part 2 smashes box office with impressive opening, and it's doing really, really well.
Yeah.
Um,
Zendaya is awful in this movie too. She's absolutely horrendous.
I don't like
She was fine in the first one, but this one, she's not a very good actress.
I don't really like her anyways, but like it makes me happy that you said that. But let's see. Variety reported that Dune Part 2 has debuted with a haul of $32.1 million. That number comes from the film's opening day screenings with 4,071 locations, includes a 12 million earned on Thursday and early preview screenings. Though it's still in the midst of the weekend, Dune Part 2 has already set a new high for the best opening weekend film for 2024 so far. It overcame the recent haul of the 28.6 million for the biopic of Bob Marley, One Love. So, how much did this movie cost to make? You know,
I want to say it was like 2 something. Hang on, I'm actually on the numbers right now. They typically tell you what the so it's a production budget of 190 million.
Okay, and the movie looks gorgeous, correct?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I haven't seen it
Yeah.
yet. Okay,
Now when it comes
go
to the CG, it's like it puts everything that has come out previously, like from Marvel, Disney in general, to shame. The CG in it is very well done. It looks good. Probably, I would say before that, one of the best CG movies was District 9, because the director of that movie, he knows his CG, and he made it blend seamless to where everything looks freaking real. And it's a gorgeous film.
man. And the reason why I asked this is because what the hell has Marvel been doing, and Disney for that for that matter, is because I believe Little Mermaid cost an upwards of like 250 to 270 million dollars,
Mm-hmm.
and the movie looks awful.
Well, it's easy. It's I'm trying to remember who said this. I don't know if it was the director or not, but this is what happens when you have a plan. Okay, Disney doesn't have a plan. Part of the reason why Marvel is failing massively is because they don't have a freaking plan, and they're constantly changing things and reshooting things, and they're rushing the CG. That's the big reason why the CG looks awful. Sorry, Mike. Fighting with my cat here. Is the fact that it's getting done last minute because they keep changing things. And right now they are reshooting Brave New World, Captain America Brave New World, and they don't even have a script yet. That might have changed between now and a couple weeks ago when we were talking about this, but they don't have a fucking script. How do you make a film without a freaking script or a plan?
Yeah, you're basically sinking money into nothing.
Yeah. And it's the reason why they're constantly reshooting things. I'm pretty sure that Denny didn't reshoot anything for Dune. If there was reshoots, it was probably like pickup shots or whatnot, right? Most movies have things like that. There's always like some reshoots, but I would say like part of the issue with Marvel is like 90, not gonna say 90, at least at the minimum, 50% of their movie gets reshot. And right now, Captain America Brave New World is getting completely reshot. So is Daredevil Born Again. And so they're sinking all this money in, and the only thing they can hope to do is break even.
And that's, imagine if you spend like $200 million on a movie, and then you're like, oh yeah, we broke even. But the thing is that you got to factor in costs, like how much you have to pay the theaters and marketing and all that stuff. So I definitely like I'm trying to see where that's coming in from. Where's all this extra money? Because if you're comparing something like this, and like how long does this movie? Like almost 3 hours, maybe.
Oh, what, Dune? Yeah,
Dune
it's
2.
like an hour, 2 hours and 45 minutes. And honestly, I very rarely say this. That is a movie that could have been longer. There's
Oh.
lots of movies. I'm very critical of run times, right? Because I mean, when you're sitting in a theater, you're drinking your drink, get to the point where you're like, I gotta take a piss. This movie's 3 hours long. Like, do I wait till the end and make a mad dash, or just go now, head to the bathroom, fuck the next 5 minutes of the film? Yeah, I mean, we're doing. I was like, I don't want to leave. I really like watching this film. It's like, and it comes back down to the level of enjoyment. Most films, I don't think, need to be more than 90 minutes, unless you're adapting a book, and that's exactly what they're doing with Dune, right? So I'm definitely willing to give more leeway to Lord of the Rings, Dune, other books because of that. But yeah, they don't have a fucking plan. That's the issue.
Little Mermaid was 2 hours and 24 minutes.
Yeah.
The cartoon movie was like 107. I don't know, maybe like an hour 15, hour 10.
Yeah, it's longer than the original. That's the thing that's so atrocious about it.
Yeah. Oh man. And the reason why I'm bringing up budgets and stuff like that, because I guess there was some kind of rumor budget for James Gunn's Superman Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And this comes to us from Twitter X. This is from what's it called again? I think Patrick 10 Ricky. And if you go down here, it says the Ohio Motion Picture Tax Application. I can't zoom in anymore. I think this thing is like yeah, I don't think I can zoom in anymore. It's not letting me.
Yeah, you can probably pop the image out and zoom it in.
Yeah, I'll probably open new images in new tab. There it is. There you go. So over here, Cleveland, Cincinnati. If you scroll all the way down, here is that the movie total production budget is $363 million.
Yeah, you
I'm
gotta.
not sure if this is.
Yeah, you gotta break $1 billion at that point just to break even. Yeah, because the best way of gauging it is I use what's called the ×3 rule, right? Basically, you take the budget and you multiply it by 3, and that's how much money they have to make to break even. And that takes into consideration marketing budget along with the take from the theater. So yeah, you're looking at $1 billion that needs to be made to break even.
That's insane. You're like, yeah, and you're not like like James Gunn. I'm not sure like how you feel about him. I think it's okay, but you're not.
I think he's a good director. I like James Gunn. He's a former Trauma director. He's a bit of an edgy boy.
Yeah, he is for sure.
He did this was it safe for work porn parody stuff back in the early 2000s. It wasn't early 2000s. It was 2010s. I think is what it was. He did the Dr. Horrible sing along blog. I mean, the guy's a great director. He really is. He's got a bunch of crazy ideas. Like, have you seen the movie Super?
Yes.
Phenomenal movie.
Yeah, and like I mentioned to the chat before. Well, man, it's a shame what happened with Ellen Page, because I thought she was very cute in that movie.
She was.
And the fact that like you have like I wouldn't consider James Gunn to be in the caliber of director as James Cameron.
Yeah.
Right. Like James Cameron, you give him I think this budget, maybe 300 million, I think might have been for maybe even less or more or less for Avatar 2. Right. And that movie made $3 billion, right? So it made back more than it's more money, and it's insane.
Yeah.
So if this is actually true, like if this rumor is true, that Superman Legacy needs to make upwards of $1 billion to see any profit, they're putting a lot of
profit. That's just the break even point. They got to make more than $1 billion.
Yeah. So that's now based off of what you saw and the news that's came out. Like, do you believe that James Gunn has that in him since he's writing and directing this one, right?
I think James Gunn is very good at certain genres of movies. I don't think that this is one of the things that he will do well with, in my opinion. He is a comic book nerd. He does know his stuff. I mean, the Guardians movies were great. But that is a type of movie that he can get away with his Gunn-isms, right? James Gunn's the weirdo. And I completely appreciate that. Like I said, I love Super. Great movie. But Super and Superman are vastly different things. Just Superman is such a wholesome character James Gunn has no business even standing next to the character because he's such a weirdo. And like I said, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with him being weird. I just don't have any confidence in him being able to pull off Superman. And some of the things I've heard, I don't know if this is true. I heard that basically Lois Lane's going to be the main character. I don't know how true that is. Of course, there's the Perry White, decision to race swap him again. And I'm going to make a joke here. It's because with Hollywood, once you go black, you can never go back with the character.
Yep.
And so it's like, okay, I mean, am I upset about it? Not really. I mean, they already did it. And we all know that the only thing they can do is escalate at that point. It's like with Battlestar Galactica, they gender swapped Starbuck. And so they decided to do it again with the next iteration. And when the actress quit, they decided to make the character black and non-binary and female. It's just like escalation is all it is, right? So it's like it could be worse. They could have done something different.
That's why I am surprised that they made Jimmy white, because they in Supergirl, of course, it's a CW, like he's a black character. So and of course you have Man of Steel. I think it was played by Morpheus, right? Was it Lawrence? So like the thing is that I don't think anyone has a problem with Lawrence just because he's fucking Morpheus, right? So like we're okay with it. Same thing
he's
with
a good actor, right? I mean, there are certain times when it depending on the actor who does it, I don't have a problem with it. For me, when it comes down to it, is that when it comes to race swapping, there's certain characters that are so much ingrained in the zeitgeist you can't do it, right? I know, like with iRobot, they cast Will Smith in that movie. The character is originally white, not necessarily in the zeitgeist, as I think a lot of people care about. And it's fine because Will Smith was the big thing during that time period. He was in a lot of movies where he ended up playing white characters, and like I said, I don't have an issue with it because for multiple reasons. They weren't doing it for identity politics purposes, and it was because he was the big actor during that time period, and it's all about putting butts in seats.
And it's funny is because if like you mentioned, like if they do a good job, people are okay with it, then once you go black, you can never go back. And it's the same thing. Is because with what they did with Samuel L. Jackson with Nick Fury, because like a lot of there are some people who they only know Nick Fury from the movies, and then I'm like, did you know Nick Fury used to be white? They're like, what? He was white?
Yeah.
And it's like, they changed.
And they race swapped him in the Ultimate Universe. I was gonna say Ultimate Spider-Man, but it's part of the Ultimate Universe. But they did that, and I don't have a problem because it's a different universe, and they actually based that version of Nick Fury off of Samuel L. Jackson, which is the reason why he ended up getting cast, because like he went to Marvel, was like, I see this character looks like me, and so that's ultimately how he kind of got the part. At least rumor has it, right? So like I said, I don't have much of an issue. I know some people who are like, it's like he should have been a white dude. I'm like, I don't mind. It's basically they're adapting the Ultimates universe.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, but are you looking forward to it? The Superman movie?
Not really. Yeah, I would love to have a proper Superman movie. I mean, he's not my favorite character, don't get me wrong. He's a good character. I do like him, and I do want to see justice for the character, right? I want to see him adapted properly, but it's not something I'm really excited for, especially because it's current year, and current year is all about wrecking everything, unfortunately. And how much of this is going to be studio interference? How much of this is going to be James Gunn because he's woke? I don't know. I don't think he's that woke. I don't really follow him that much on Twitter. So I couldn't tell you.
Well, like he was canceled before, right? Because he made those edgy jokes with like the Star Wars characters and stuff like that about like.
Oh, what wasn't that? I mean, he did a lot of really edgy shit. Like I said, he's an edgy boy, right? I mean, the dude is a trauma director. That's all you need to know right there. But he made a bunch of fans of the playground jokes on Twitter, and he had a To Catch a Predator themed Halloween party, and he dressed up as a priest. And to me, I was like, that shit's funny. Okay, I personally find it funny. But yeah, he made some fans of the playground jokes and got canceled as a result of that. And I was very much against his cancellation. Again, what he said was just edgy, right? And of course, obviously, Disney canning him left a pretty bitter taste in his mouth. I think, and it totally wrecked a lot of things too from Marvel. So this is their second pivot with the majors thing. The first one was with James Gunn, because Guardians 3 was to come out, right after Phase 3. Of course, it got canceled, and that got all ruined.
Yeah. Let's see. The lovely Sherry says the only person I'm excited to see in Superman Legacy is Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Nathan Fillion, he's great. And why don't they cast him as... Oh, God. I'm not too hip with the DC characters. The other Green Lantern, that's not Guy Gardner.
Yeah. I'm
blanking.
Yeah, I'm blanking his name. It's not Jon Stewart. Hal Jordan.
Hal Jordan, thank you.
Yeah. Like I'm not sure why. Maybe they don't want it to tie into. Oh, but like it's.
Well, he's voiced the character of Hal Jordan before in the DC stuff, the animated stuff.
I think it'll be perfect for him.
Yeah.
But maybe because like he's like, oh, that's Ryan Reynolds' role. I probably don't want to take that just yet or something. But that's a DC decision, right? Like, and the thing is, that's been so long, and that's not even part of the DCEU. It's that's its own thing. So that's been more than 10 years since that movie came out. So I don't know. Yeah. But I do want to talk about, speaking of animated shows, I do want to talk about X-Men. And this goes, and you know where I'm coming from, and this goes back to the Mary Sue. So you read the headline, right? With from the Mary Sue.
About conservatives and the far right not understanding X-Men. Yeah.
Here it is. This is from the Mary Sue. How are all these neckbeards and Republicans fans of the X-Men? They're literally not for you.
Speaking of Rachel Leishman. Okay, so when she gets into the article, she talks about how the X-Men was based off of the civil rights movement, which is absolutely not the case. There is multiple interviews where he says it's not the case. Did they take advantage of it? Yes, they did, 100%. But Stan Lee, because there's one video I'm watching. I wish I find the clip. I'll probably just get it and isolate it and use it in the video, where somebody asked him flat out, were the X-Men created to fight racial prejudice? And he's like, no. Flat out, no. It's not the reason. Doesn't mean you can't use it as an allegory, right? There's lots of things. The X-Men represent the outgroup. And as if you identify with the outgroup, you can relate to the X-Men. There's a lot of ways to view this. Gay, if you're a minority and you feel like you're part of the outgroup, same thing. So it isn't just, it was never woke, right? Which is what they're doing here, is they're saying that it is. And what this is, it's revisionist history. It's like the same thing with Trek. Well, Trek was always woke. You could say it was progressive, sure, but it wasn't woke. Being progressive and woke are vastly two different things. But they want to make it. They want to make it theirs, and they want to gatekeep it, and they don't want you to be a part of it. That's what it comes down to. And like I said, Rachel's dumb. She's all about pushing the ideology. It's all about the intersectional feminism, because that's what the Mary Sue is. And Morph was never non-binary. If you put the subtitles on, it will say he, in reference to Morph. So
Well, yeah, I definitely do agree. What you said, I think that word definitely does mean a lot. The revisionist history.
Yeah.
Right. And Disney is a fan of revisionist history, is because of making things are more like it. Like whenever you Google Little Mermaid, you get both the black one and the white one. now,
Mhm.
right? And the thing is that let's say it's on Disney Plus, your kids watching it, and then you say, "Oh, I want to watch Little Mermaid." Oh, there's a live action one, and then you watch the live action one, and then somehow all of those older stuff is just like, oh, it's older. People want to watch newer stuff, and then whatever it's now, it's now. Like same thing with there's a Little Mermaid animated TV show for little kids on Disney Junior.
Mhm.
That's that like it's like full on the entire family is black, and like and it's even though the fish looks accurate, it's just they're changing history, not by changing it. It's just like they're releasing new things that are more woke, and it's not even like you said progressive or anything. Like it's just this they're just trying to change the past,
Well,
and then
did you see
hopefully
the
the
Little
people like
Mermaid
it.
movie?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. So you saw Triton's multicultural children.
Yes.
That's not
So
how
where are all the
genetics work.
wives? Where are all the wives?
Yeah. It's like that's not how genetics work, dude. It's like you can't have a Hispanic Triton and he shoots out children that are, basically the color of the rainbow. It's the Rainbow Coalition of the sea.
Yeah. And
It's
it's
dumb.
I I don't know why they think this is a good idea, saying that it's not for you, right? Like I believe the video that you
Well, it's
mentioned was like
gatekeeping,
this.
right? I mean, they're
Yeah.
basically doing the exact same thing that they accuse us of doing with gatekeeping. And quite frankly, we should have been gatekeeping to keep people like Rachel out.
Yeah. And it's funny is because I always say it's like for the party or for the side that's all about inclusion and acceptance and stuff like that. It's like they're only gatekeeping the people that they want to include, they want
Mhm.
to accept, right? Like it's it's mind-boggling. It's this how stupid they are, and it's like, oh, even Stanley is like, no, like it, like you said, was that the original story for these characters? No, it's because I didn't want to make a origin story for each individual character because this
Mhm.
requires a lot of writing. So I just they're just born with it. They're just mutants, and then like I believe Eric July talked about this before, right? And
No,
he
yeah,
made a
yeah. He's talked
video
about
about it.
multiple times. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like it's meant to be everything. And then people are like, "Oh, actually, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King were actually depictions of X and Magneto." I'm like, "No, they're not."
No,
You know,
no. Well,
I was like, Magneto.
I got into it with this one dude, and he was basically trying to tell me I was wrong, and I legit dropped him the clip of Stanley saying, are the X-Men about racial prejudice, fighting racial prejudice? And he's like, no. I dropped that clip. Dude, fucking shut up real fast.
Yep.
And it's
That.
because they don't know, right? It's like the main thing is he created it because he was lazy, and yeah, I mean, it's like you can only use gamma rays so many times to create a character or radiation or bit by a radioactive spider, whatever. And that actually makes sense, right? The whole idea that it's genetics that's causing these mutations because mutations are real.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah. I think even like even sometimes where people are saying, "Oh, that's actually not actually what they actually wanted," but like it's because they're trying to say that for Walt. No, Walt is like for Walt Disney. He's like, "Oh, he's always been like this. He's always been like this," and it's because there's no
No,
actual
Walt
like.
was an anti-communist.
Yeah, he is. He's
The
that's the reason
the
why
whole
he
thing with
says,
him being anti-Semitic came from the
yeah,
communist.
yeah, and him. There's a reason why he says, what's it called again? For all people come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland's your land, and he talks about like how he's talking about the future of America and stuff like that. And they tried to remove that actual like the America part from his actual statement.
Mhm.
So it's pretty wild how people try to project themselves onto something that they idolize so much, and if it's completely wrong. Because I remember I watched a clip of Walt Disney talking about he's against communism and
Yeah.
communists. And there's actual video of him like, I'm like, oh, there's actual recorded video. That's awesome.
Mhm.
They're like, no, actually, no. Disney was always like this from a long time ago. I'm like, oh my God, you guys just
No.
trying to
Mm-mm.
hijack like all of these things and make it your own. Like it's pretty nuts. All right, so I do want to talk about one more topic with you, and do you watch anime?
Yes, I do.
What do you watch? Like, what kind of anime are you into? Like I know
Okay.
you mentioned Ghost in the Shell, of
Yeah.
course.
Ghost in the Shell is honestly one of my favorite anime series. Standalone Complex. I like the movie. Um, movie isn't as good as the manga. Standalone Complex, I think, is in spirit more closer to what the manga was. Really good series. Love that. Cowboy Bebop is another favorite of mine. I mean, I'm old enough that a lot of the manga that a lot of the anime I watched as a kid was adapted like in the 70s. You have Battle of the Planets, which was Gatchaman. And then I'm trying to remember what else there was. Speed Racer.
Yeah, Speed Racer. Yep.
Stuff like that. So for me, growing up primarily in the 80s, and by the time I hit the 90s, I was pretty much an adult. There was Go 13. I mean, that's some like really, more hardcore stuff.
Some deep cuts.
Yeah. But I mean, but also growing up, there was Robotech, which was taken from 3 different, anime series. And I love Robotech. I'm pretty sure like I was the only kid that I knew, minus a few others, that loved Robotech. So yeah, I mean that's the stuff I grew up with. Obviously, and then there was Ghost in the Shell. Trying to remember, Lotus Wars was another one.
Okay.
There's a guy in San Antonio named Ben Dunn. I want to say Ben he's actually Chinese American, but he loves anime. He is one of the guys that was responsible for the founding of Antarctic Press.
Okay.
If you know who they are, and so he would go to Japan and get these anime series, and he would air them on public access. So some of the stuff I used to watch was originally, it was not translated; it was still in Japanese, and the Rocket of Lotus Wars was one of them, and that was basically when I was in high school. And trying to remember what else. Yeah, so I mean, I have a pretty extensive collection. I don't call myself a weeb or anything, but I do enjoy it. Demon Slayer, I turned my wife on that. She loves this series. She was never big into anime or anything like that. She really enjoys the series. There's another one called Psychopaths, which is kind of along that cyberpunk genre, which is absolutely fucking amazing. They have 3 seasons. They've done quite a few movies as well, all really well done. And it just, it's, if you haven't seen it, I recommend it. For the most part, what it's about is, Japan is now this society where they have something called a civil system, which is basically an AI that kind of governs everybody's life. And everybody has what is called a psychopath score. And the worse your hue gets, the more you kind of like go nuts, and you are viewed as a latent criminal. And therefore you are removed from society if you are a latent criminal. And if your score goes too high, you are to be immediately executed. And so there's, it's crazy, but it's so good. And there's some stuff that gets revealed in the first season that I'm not going to get into. That is just like when the reveal came, like my jaw hit the freaking floor. It was so good.
Now, the reason why I asked you about like anime and stuff like that, are you a subtitle or a dubbed? Are you a sub or a dubbed guy?
Okay. If it wasn't for the fact that I am massively dyslexic, I would be fine with subtitles, but I have to go with dubs because I'm like constantly pausing, and just really kind of makes it a lot longer to watch. So that's more of a limitation of myself, because I understand that the translations are vastly different from subtitles to dubbing. So it's like I'm watching. I mentioned Shogun, and a good majority of that show is in Japanese. So there's times where I'm like, I'm fine with reading it, but there's times like, okay, I gotta pause it. This is really long.
Yeah, like for me, I prefer subs whenever possible, is because I like the anime, at least for me, like and even how they said it, it's all about like emotions, right? It's all about how they're feeling, and that's why sometimes when you watch like the dub versions, it's like it's not as great, or it's just different. Or the reason why I want to bring that up is because of localizations.
Yes,
and this comes to us from CBR. The Crunchyroll CEO says that AI generated subtitles are definitely an area we're focused on. Crunchyroll CEO Raul Perini says AI generated subtitles are an area focused on testing for the streaming service, perhaps the dismay of audiences. Now, I believe a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, we talked about this thing that came out with Kobayashi made, right? And it talked about how like talked about the patriarchy, and that wasn't in
Yeah.
the original thing,
Mhm.
right? So, and there's a person who's a part of the localization people who are getting upset. The people are calling her out, and she started banning and blocking people. And then now she was one of those people who are extremely afraid of AI taking over
Yeah.
her job.
Well, if they didn't start injecting their politics into it, they wouldn't have to go this route, right? And
Mhm.
I'm not saying it wouldn't have gotten there to begin with, but they definitely helped speed it up. It's like the same thing when they raise the prices, not raise the prices, but raise minimum wage, like in California. Suddenly they start getting rid of employees because they're too expensive, and you just go to a kiosk
Yeah.
and order your food there, and the machine flips your burger or whatnot and delivers it to you. It's the same idea, right? Just for a
Mhm.
different reason. And she basically, because of her actions, is pissed off these companies in Japan that create manga that don't want their works to be bastardized by Americans and this stupid ideology. So
Yeah. Like
what can
like
you do?
for me, I'm one of those people who is like, okay, what did they say in Japanese? Make that I know what's it called again? How I did take Japanese in high school and in college. How they phrase it is sort of like Yoda speak,
Yeah. Mhm.
like I think like, and it's similar to people who speak Spanish. They can actually, how they understand it, like where the words go. It's a
Mhm.
lot easier of where the format is. So as long as it's similar or exactly the same thing and it makes sense in English, translated
Mhm.
that way. That's all we
Yeah.
want. We don't want any bull crap saying, like we don't like censorship either here.
Yeah.
And but that's the reason why they are afraid, is because they know that if these AI generated subtitles were bad, these localizer would be like, oh, I don't care.
Yeah.
My job is secure because they're bad.
Mhm.
The reason why they're scared is because they're good,
Yeah.
right? And same thing with these AI art and stuff like that.
Mhm.
These things coming out with like Sora and stuff. Let's go and read this. Let's see. Perini sat down with The Verge for an hour-long interview where he discussed how Crunchyroll could become more attractive attractive option for anime fans. One solution was increased development in AI-generated subtitles, where Perini said, "AI is definitely something we think about a lot, and have a lot of different workflows in organizations right now. One of the areas we are focused on is subtitling and our closed captioning, where we go from speech to text. How about we improve and optimize our processes where we can get the subtitles done in various languages across the world faster, so we can launch it as close
Mhm.
to the Japanese release as possible." I think that'd be pretty cool, because whenever, like, I remember when I was waiting for Your Name, which is phenomenal movie by Makoto Shinkai. I was waiting for Your Name. It came out in Japan. I had to wait like 4 or 5 months for them to localize it here in the States. And did you watch Your Name?
No, I haven't.
It's I guess a lot of people are saying Makoto Shinkai is like a successor to Hayao Miyazaki for Ghibli
Mhm.
Studios. But he made 3 movies. I think it's Your Name, Weathering with You, and Suzume, which is like all came out. It's like a love story kind of thing, but it's like
Okay.
really, really well written. And the first one is about like body swapping. And the thing is, a lot of people's like, oh, body swap, that means the main character is gender fluid, non-binary. Like, no, it's not. No, no, it's not. But
They were
yeah,
doing
it's
this shit with Rama Half back in the 70s, man. This ain't
oh
new.
yeah. I used to watch Ranma and read it. Like, I used to have like mangas and reading it. The reason why I had the mangas is because they actually draw in the nipples, which is the anime. You
Yeah.
don't see it. So that's the reason why I read them instead, because like I would go over to my friend's house and they would have a bunch of manga, and I would just read them.
She's
And
got boobs.
yeah, it's like, oh, and the dad touches, so I turns into a panda, and I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's cute. It's cute is what it is.
yeah, it's funny is because I go by P-chan at work. So a lot of people who don't know what Ranma is, like, P-chan's a little pig, the little black pig.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see. Let's continue reading. How do we improve or optimize? Done. Yeah, basically, okay, read that already. Okay, Perini's quote arose during a conversation about how he hoped to make Crunchyroll more viable than piracy, with one of the piracy's biggest selling points being that it's free and sometimes also releases content faster than official services. He
Yeah.
highlighted that the fan desires to access anime as close to the Japanese release as possible. Yeah, so
Yeah, I
What were
mean
you gonna say?
that's one of the things that like years ago, I want to say it was like 2 or 3 years before Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex got an American release. I was finding you know subtitled versions that were being released on the internet. You could find it
Mhm.
using LimeWire, um, other peer-to-peer services. I don't remember all of them, but yeah, I mean that's how I was able to watch the series before it got released in America, like 2 or 3 years before it happened.
Yeah, like I used to go to this like when I used to live down in Southern California, like near LA. The only place I was able to actually get like other than going online, but like to sort of get it like legally, I guess there's this tiny store in San Gabriel called Orbits, and they would have like VHS of like anime that's coming out from Japan, and it's all subtitled, which is
Mhm.
great. And but the thing is that it's even with that, it still took him months for him to get it. But like now you have like people who, every Thursday or Friday, like a person would translate a manga on like some website, and that's how I would read like Naruto and like Bleach and what's it called, these other animes and mangas that I've been reading, is because it's a lot faster. But if they can do it, I think this will be huge. Like
Mhm.
like imagine like getting something that it's like that's all AI and it's accurate. Like I think this will be huge for the industry. Yes, it's gonna suck for a lot of the shitty localizers, but I think this is good in my opinion. How do you
Yeah.
feel?
I mean, I agree. It sucks that they're going to lose their jobs, but for some of them, they kind of brought it on themselves, and ultimately, yeah. I mean, if they want to get Americans quicker access to these shows, that they have to do it because localization. I mean, it takes time,
Mhm. Yeah. See, yeah,
especially if you're
naturally,
doing
yeah.
the dubbing too. So
Yes. And the thing is that these what makes me like, of course, like what irks me a lot is just like when these localized, they know they're doing this and they're like, I'm gonna sneak in my hidden agenda, right?
yeah,
It's like it's sort of like I guess it doesn't have to like relate to that, but like when they try to sneak it in, it's like they hooked you in the first two episodes, and then the second episode or third episode is like super woke or completely different from what the original source material is. I'm like, that's when people get really upset, right?
yeah,
And like the third episode of The Last of Us, the live the one on HBO Max, where the director was proudly saying, "Oh, I tricked the fans into watching a gay romance."
yeah.
Like no one likes being freaking, like bait
Mm,
and switch like that, dude. It's like watching like, and the thing is, I never watched Kobayashi Maid, but my wife does. My wife, she loves it, and I was like, did you watch it in subbed or dubbed? And she said, I watched it in subbed. And she's like, what happened? So I told her about the situation, and she was like, oh yeah, they deserve to lose their jobs. Is because that's not what the original intent of the creator was and the writer
mhm.
was.
Yeah,
So it's yeah. See, naturally, AI subtitling proves contingents. Many anime fans were concerned about the low quality subtitles in the Yuzuki family's Four Sons debut episode, leading some to believe that they had been generated by AI. These subtitles were notorious.
that's funny.
These subtitles were notoriously awkward, occasionally to the point of being nonsensical, and feature numerous grammar issues. Crunchyroll was
Wow.
forced to delete the episode following the outrage by fans on the social media, with many asking why didn't they pay professionals to do a better job. Many manga fans on social media also cite poor official translations as motivators by piracy, with the United States being the number one worst offender of piracy. Of course, we are.
Yes, we are.
This conversation resurfaced following the arrest of two individuals in Japan for leaking early content from Weekly Shonen manga. That's actually pretty funny. But yeah, in my opinion, uh, if you don't need to have 10 localizers, you just need to have like two. You have the AI do it, do the basic heavy lifting, like the 80%, and then
Mhm.
the back end and the front end, like 10% of each. Make sure you go through and you read
Make sure
it,
it's
make sure it's
accurate.
correct,
Yeah.
and that's it. And just get it out. Like
Make
why?
corrections and you're good to go.
Yeah, it's yeah. I would say when it comes to AI, I think I so I work in tech, and I work on Marvel, and I do art for them.
Mhm.
And we have a saying that says, people who are afraid of AI, and people are basically automizing things are like redundant, like manufacturing and like cars and stuff like that, microwaves and all that stuff that's make our lives easier. They said that people who don't use AI are going to lose their jobs faster and a
Yeah.
lot quicker than people who
Mhm.
use AI. The artists are people who use AI are going to have their jobs still.
Yeah.
So it's just how you can roll with the punches and stuff like
Well,
that.
technology changes and evolves. I mean, we used to have people manually punching in, telephone numbers, right? I mean, where you had people working a switchboard,
But
and
yeah,
and that's all gone away. I mean, and a lot of it is because of automation. So automation isn't going anywhere. I
Mhm.
mean, that's primarily my area of focus in tech has been DevOps, which is all about automation, server automation and whatnot. And I mean, it's a little more complex than that, but it's that shit ain't going away. It's gonna be used more and more. Some for good, some for bad, and a lot of it. We're talking about the whole thing with Gemini is that the stuff when it needs to be is neutral. It doesn't need to have a bias. It just needs to spit out the right answer or do or what you ask it to do.
Mhm.
It's like things should be to a certain degree, unless you're asking it to be creative, should be very clinical. It's like if I ask for something, it should respond with an answer and not give me a quote unquote opinion.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I I'm one of those people who, like, given that the fact that my job can potentially be at risk because of AI,
Mhm.
um I'm I'm okay with it, is as long as we know how to utilize it, you know. But yeah, I think automation is a thing. Like, if it makes my life easier and makes things easier, I think I'm okay with it. But yeah, let's see. Argent Sable from Rumble says, it's a good in concept. However, the AI is trained and the editors can still be biased. It's possible that this won't change the platform. Hopefully, I'm wrong, but we'll have to wait and see. I would say that okay. So for whenever I do something for art, like, it goes through the approval process and then it goes to Marvel, and then Marvel gets the final say.
Right.
So I would say when it comes down to like something like localization with AI, that's what needs to happen. It needs to go to whoever the original content creator is, or whoever made these, let's say Japan or manga or shonen or Mappa Studios, whatever it
Right.
is.
Mhm.
They need to have final say, right? And they need to have someone in house read the entire thing, which is only probably going to take them like 5-10 minutes, and just go for one episode, read the entire thing. This looks accurate, send it back, and then that's it. I think it's okay. I think people who are afraid of AI, it's just it's people, like I said, people used to be afraid of microwaves. It's like, what, heating your food with radiation? That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
No
It's like with
way.
anything. Yeah. It's like when the car got invented, the automobile. It's like, what? A horseless carriage? That's crazy. No one's going to use that. And of course, we're all driving cars now.
Yeah. All right. So one last thing. But once again, Comics Division, thank you so much for coming on. I know that we're gonna do it. This is a short Project Eggroll stream, is because what's it called again? This, we actually talked about most of the stuff that we actually wanted to talk about, and Grae's not here, and plus Comics has somewhere else he needs to be. But thank you so much. But I do want to talk about one thing.
Sure.
Do you watch? Do you know? Wait, okay. Do you watch Naruto?
No, I have. I've
Okay.
never watched it.
Okay, so there's this character, there's a bloodline in this place where they have these eyes. It's called Sharingan,
Mhm.
where they can copy and see moves before they happen, and they basically, like, they can when they walk into a room, like, they basically have vision of everything, which is actually pretty cool. So it has nothing to do with this post, however, but I posted this yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that. That's great.
This is from New York Post. It says
No
staring at boobs,
complaints.
yeah, may give you a boost to male lifespan. So this is amazing. And and the thing is, says, I respond to, I'm immortal. And the
Oops.
reason why
Yeah, I'm a bit of a fan. Yeah.
the reason why I brought up the Naruto thing. So the Sharingan is it's basically one of the things where you can see everything like really, really fast, and you can assess everything. So this is one of the characters, And this is him, basically me walking to going to the beach and seeing all the boobs at the same time. This is basically me. But the cool, so this is a little spoilers, but basically this is one of the big bad guys, and this is him. Is one guy fighting an army of 40,000 ninjas, and his eyes are one of the best eyes in the show, and he basically destroys all of them. This guy's a bad guy. He's one of the best bad guys in the show. But yeah, but that's basically me when I go to a beach, and especially if you're in Europe and there's like a nude beach, and you're gonna just see everything really fast before my wife catches me. But yes, I'll chat. I'll leave you guys with this image. I'll give you guys 5 seconds.
And it's a nice rack too. So
yeah, it is.
No complaints here.
Yeah, and this you know is natural. It's not one of the ones where it's like it catfishes you and it's a guy. So this you could tell it's real. And this is back in 2017. This is before you know, being doing that as a trend. But thank you so much, Comix Division, for coming on. I really appreciate it. You know, we'd love to have you back, and you can talk.
Yeah, definitely, man. Just let me know.
Yeah, awesome. Where can people find you, and what are you up to?
You can find me everywhere. You can find me on Twitter at Comix Division, of course, YouTube, Comix Division. And I stream every Monday and Thursday on my YouTube channel. I stream on Rumble on Wednesdays, where I talk more about politics. And as far as like content I'm working on, I have a video that I'm going to try and get done again, talking about Gemini, because it is just a fantastic woke disaster, and it needs to be called out because people need to be aware of this. Because part of the issue with this Gemini AI thing is it's going to be used for indoctrination, just like with everything else. And that's things that we have to be careful with when it comes to AI. Is, you know, it could be used for both good and evil. It's like I'd rather see it be used for good, and it's a great technology, but we have to be cautious.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so if you guys haven't already done so, go ahead and follow and subscribe to Comix Division. It should be in the description below. Follow him on Rumble, Odyssey, YouTube. Follow him on X. Yeah, it's gonna be he has really, really cool stuff, and he's also on FNT. If you guys don't know, he's also on FNT
every week. FNT. All right, great place to be.
Yes, and you can follow us, you know, on Project Eggroll on X. You can follow my personal channel, Mr. Phillip Chan, too, because my original channel got demonetized, so I have to make a new one from scratch.
Sucks.
Yeah, so the thing is, I didn't do anything wrong. It might have been me playing the Alex Jones video game, and then I don't know what it was, but like
a lot of people got hit for that.
Yeah, it's funny is because the big guys didn't, like Asmongold and a bunch of other people who played it, like the people who has like millions and millions of subscribers.
Yeah, they
yeah. But thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Rumble Chat, for hanging out. I really appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe to this channel and stuff like that. And yes, we will see you guys next week. Thank you guys so much, and have a good day.
Thanks for having me. Take care, everyone.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much.